Mosquitoes are out and about, and it's time to talk about that and ways that you can prevent mosquitoes and ways that you can recycle and help the elimination of mosquitoes in your yard. And joining us in the studio on WJTS in.form is Carla Striegel-Winner. She is the director for the Dubois County Solid Waste District, and Shawn Werner, who is with the Dubois County Health Department, and you're the environmental
health specialist. Yes.
Health specialist. Okay. Well, what we're going to do is go to Carla first, and we're going to talk about recycling things that are in your yard that you may not realize cause a problem with mosquitoes, and we'll talk about the mosquito problem in just a minute. First, let's talk about recycling things in your yard.
Right, yeah. I brought my handy dandy little tire with me again today. This is something a lot of people maybe don't realize. They have waste tires setting around, in their property. Farmers sometimes use these to fill in areas that are eroding or something like that. This one has the rim in it, but anytime you see a tire setting around, a lot of times it's going to have water in it, and that's really bad because some of the mosquitoes, which Shawn can talk about, can breed in these waste tires, and we do accept tires for recycling at the Solid Waste District. So we take those anytime that we're open, and they do get recycled. And so it's just important to, last year, let's see, in 2015, we had about 5 tons of tires that we recycled from the county. And that's not ones that are just coming off of people's cars, because those usually just go to the dealership or wherever they're getting their tires. Those are tires that have been sitting around for a while in garages or out in yards, barn yards, things like that.
So it doesn't matter what kind of dry rot they got, you'll still take those tires.
We will still take those tires.
What about
yeah.
size? Is that important?
Nope. We just have different prices. For a passenger tire, it's $2 right now. Those prices could change, but passenger tires $2. Anything on the rim is a $2 charge on that, and then tractor tires, semi tires, from there it goes up. You can just call and find out prices on those. But we will take any type of tire, anytime, 8 to 1, Monday through Friday.
Okay,
so,
now in my yard, I don't have a lot of tires laying around.
Yeah.
But I do have some of the other goodies that you have that.
So there's some things that I just kind of brought. Shawn will talk a little bit about having stuff in your yard that can have water in it. Any place that you're going to have water setting for more than a few days could be a place for certain mosquitoes to breed. And so, if you've got a bunch of planter pots and you put either plastic or plates or metal or something underneath there, you can have water in that. You want to make sure and dump that out. If you're ready to get rid of something, we do recycle plastic like this. This can't be recycled. We do recycle plastic like this. Your watering can, this type of plastic we can recycle if it's no good anymore. And then also for items that maybe can't be recycled, you've got old kids' toys laying around in the yard that have seen better days. That is a place where enough water for a mosquito to breed can set in that area. There are disposal options in the county. Anything that can fit in a trash bag can go to our 8 county drop sites. Large items we take at the Solid Waste District at our large item dumpster. And then there are a couple of landfills next to Dubois County. There aren't any in Dubois County, but we can give out information on those as well if you have large amounts of stuff that you need to kind of get out of the yard to clean the yard up a little bit and make it a safer and healthier place.
Yeah, I think a lot of times you think of that harder plastic as not being recyclable, because we think of recycling our milk jugs and water bottles, things like that, but that harder.
Yes, yeah, and like this type, what we call this is mixed rigids. It's all different kinds of plastic, and you cannot take these to the 8 county drop sites. Right now, we can take them at the Solid Waste District only, and we can recycle those, but that may change at any time. Just commodity pricing on the plastics is really low right now, so that could change, but we will take it, and if we have to, if it ends up in the dumpster at some point later, that we try to get it recycled, but we are able to do that now for stuff like this, as long as it's 100% plastic. This is not a very good example of something that can be recycled because it's got the metal on it as well, and so that can't be recycled with the plastic if there's any metal parts. But if somebody were to bring this with the wheels off and no metal on it, then right now we can recycle that at the Solid Waste District. But again, we also have other disposal options in the county for small items and then larger items as well, and people can just call the Solid Waste District and kind of find out a little bit more on that.
What's your phone number?
Our phone number is 812-482-7865.
Okay, and a good reason to recycle is because reduce, reuse, recycle. We keep it out of the landfill, and that's all great for the environment as a whole. However, on a more maybe local, personal level, is we want to get these things out of your yard because mosquitoes breed in those. And Shawn, that's where you come in. Why are we so worried about mosquitoes?
Well, I mean, they carry certain diseases that we're always concerned with. West Nile, Zika now is in the news quite a bit, and you got chikungunya, dengue. There's a lot of different diseases that the mosquitoes can carry, so it's why we need to prevent standing water and these types of material in our yard.
Are we going to see Zika virus in this area?
Well, we've already got, I looked at the CDC this morning before I came, we have 544 cases in the United States that are all still travel related. I think there was 8 in Indiana, so that means somebody has gone to the Caribbean or to Mexico and has gotten infected by a mosquito down there and now have come back to the United States carrying the Zika virus. So potentially this summer when the mosquitoes start biting, there is that potential that that mosquito could bite an infected person and start transmitting it locally. That's what we don't want to happen, but it's very possible that it could.
Is there a treatment for Zika virus?
No vaccine, no medication. It just has
so
to
if it starts to spread, it's going to...
Kind of like West Nile. There's no vaccine. There's no treatment. It just has to run its course. It's a virus. It's just one of those things you can't... I mean, you can take your over-the-counter medication for headaches, fever, stuff like that, but as far as a medication that will cure you, no.
Okay. Now, we really probably have to worry more about West Nile virus in this area, as we have in years past.
Yeah. Basically, West Nile's been here since, I think, 2002, and it's going to be here to stay because it's endemic in our bird population. That's what it overwinters in the bird, and then mosquitoes will get infected by the birds. But the Zika is a little bit different. There's not a whole lot known about that yet. They're still learning more each day. They don't even know, the incubation period of when a mosquito bites you, how long it takes you to get sick. Probably a couple weeks at the most. So that's kind of where we're at on that.
Now, she talks about having tires in your yard or maybe even pools of water, pans in your yard that have water in it. How quick does a mosquito, I mean, do you have to empty that every day? Is it something that once a week you need to make sure
If a container holds water for more than 4 to 7 days, you can have a hatch of mosquitoes come out from larva or from egg to adult in 4 to 7 days if the conditions are correct.
Wow, that's quick.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about the pot in your the little water thing that holds the water at the bottom so it doesn't overflow. Mm-hmm. That might be sitting there for a couple of days.
Yeah. It only takes about an ounce of water, and you can get hundreds of thousands of mosquitoes to come out in that little container.
Now, if you've got a creek, you don't really need to worry so much about that because the water flows.
Running water is not a concern as long as it continues to flow. Mm-hmm. Typically, ponds are not a concern because they've got aquatic life in it that will eat the mosquitoes. But the standing water, like your gutters, containers like that, roadside ditches, woodland pools, there's tree holes that will hold water. Mm-hmm. Anything that you can drain and eliminate yourself is going to help tremendously with mosquitoes in your area, because typically a mosquito's flight range is anywhere from a few hundred yards to maybe a half a mile at the most. So when people complain about having mosquitoes at their place, they're generally causing their own problem by having some type of standing water on their property that they need to fix. Septic systems are a huge problem, and they have discharges to ditches. That organic water is what attracts the mosquitoes.
Okay, so really, in a way, we create somewhat of our own problem because mosquitoes are going to exist no matter what, because there's going to be standing water in the woods and different places naturally.
Yes.
But we just don't want to create an unnatural environment for them to breed.
And the ones that we're concerned with, like for the Zika, is the Aedes, and the Aedes albopictus is what we have in this area. Those are container breeders. So your tires, that's how they actually come to the United States, on a tire shipment. We bring their larvae over, they hatch in the United States, and now we have their mosquitoes from other countries. So they're a huge problem. Those are the ones that are real aggressive towards people during the day. They'll even bite you, daytime, nighttime, it doesn't matter. They're a pretty aggressive mosquito.
Now, to get rid of the initial cause of mosquitoes, let's make sure that we have our tires recycled, that we don't have I guess, basins out in the yard. Rain barrels typically don't cause a problem because there's flowing water into them.
Yeah, and those typically have a lid on them. They're generally a sealed container. The mosquito has to get access to the water to lay the eggs, and then the eggs will have to hatch, and obviously they'll go through their larval, pupal, and then adult stage.
How many different kinds of mosquitoes are there?
In Indiana, there's about 51 different species, and they're all, they all act different. They all look different. People see mosquitoes and they just think, yeah, it's just a mosquito, but they all, have different life cycles. They all, breed in different areas. They'll all carry different diseases. So you kind of, like for the West Nile, we always look for the Culex, which is the ones that we send to the state for testing. And then for the Zika, now it's the 80s. So it's just a matter of what mosquito will carry what type of disease.
Okay, now, we're going to get bitten by mosquitoes. That's going to happen all summer long. How do I know if I have an illness? How will I know I have an illness?
Well, you'll start experiencing symptoms. In West Nile, you got flu-like symptoms, high fever, headaches. You could have nausea, vomiting. Zika is kind of a hard one because I think about 4 out of 5 people won't even experience symptoms. That's why it's such a concern for pregnant women. If they go to the Caribbean and have a good time and they get bit by a couple mosquitoes and don't know it that they're sick, then that could cause some problems for the infant. They're seeing some different things come from pregnant women. But if you start experiencing symptoms, you always call your doctor and tell them you've been bitten by mosquitoes and you want to have tested or get tested for Zika or West Nile. They can do blood draws on that.
Okay. Now, what are the best ways to avoid mosquito bites? I know that, first of all, clean up your yard.
Yes.
That's the big thing. But is it? I know one year, it seemed like a couple of years ago, I remember there was a lot of fogging that was going on to get rid of mosquitoes.
Yeah, the best thing to do is if you're going to be outside when mosquitoes are biting, usually dusk, dawn, where if it's possible, when the summertime it gets warm, it's hard to wear long sleeves, long pants. But that's a good deterrent for them. Also wear your mosquito repellent. DEET is a good repellent. And don't go in areas where it's highly vegetative. It's where they typically hide out. They're not going to sit out in the middle of your yard where it's 95 degrees and sunny. They need the shade, and otherwise they'll dehydrate very quickly.
Now, we've had a wet spring. Summer probably, from what I understand, will be dry. Is this good or bad?
Well, it all depends. If the water stays around, it could be potentially bad for this summer. If it dries up and then the water goes away, then it may not be as bad. But these heavy rains that we have, a lot of times will wash the pockets of water out, and that sometimes will get rid of the mosquitoes. But right now, it is getting warmer now, but typically above 60 degrees is when the mosquitoes are active. So if it gets down in like the 40s at night, like it has been, they're not really too active yet. It's when it starts getting above 60 degrees is when they'll start becoming active.
Now, how long does a mosquito live?
They generally will just last the summertime because
they live that long?
There are a few of them.
Just a couple of days.
No, there are a few of them that will actually overwinter, like in crawl spaces, bridge abutments where they can get kind of underground, or catch basins. They'll go underground where it's a consistent, 40, 50 degrees.
Didn't know that.
And then they'll come out that's why sometimes in the wintertime when you get a 70, 80 degree day, you can get bit by mosquitoes. Those are the ones that are overwintering.
Well, that was not the answer I was looking for. I always thought they lived just a couple of days.
No.
We need to really clean up our yards now because they could be around all summer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thanks both of you for coming in. Anything you'd like to add?
Well, if anybody has any questions or concerns about mosquitoes on their property, they can always call the health department for advice. There are treatment methods that we will, give them options on what to do for their property. If they have any questions, they can call 812-481-7055.
Okay, and Carla, you just want people to clean up your yards.
Right. And any questions on any disposal or recycling options in the county, just give us a call at the Solid Waste District at 812-482-7865.
All right, thanks to both of you for coming in.
Thanks for having
Our
us.
guests have been Shawn Werner with the Dubois County Health Department and Carla Striegel-Winner with the Dubois County Solid Waste District. Go out in your yard, look around. You might be surprised. You may have a bowl here, a little child's toy there. Hopefully you don't have tires laying around, but if you do, time to recycle those, or at least make sure you empty them out a lot, because we don't want mosquitoes invading our homes this year. Thank you for watching WJTS in.form. We're local people watching local people.